Joplin, yes, I think it's the prevailing wage. I just checked it recently. They're fairly high. The asbestos worker, I think, is lost in those areas. The communication technology is lost in those areas. Some truck is lost in those areas. The prevailing wage set in the Joplin area is, I think, accurately reflects of what those wages are from the last change that we made.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Bricker.
Inquire, Mr. Chairman, briefly.
Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Have you ever built a house?
No, sir, I rely on skilled laborers to do that.
Have you ever been the owner of a house that's being built?
I live in the city of St. Louis, so my house was built sometime in the 30s.
Okay. Do you know anyone that's had a home built through a contractor or whatever?
I know people who have built new homes, but
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
Do you think that they used prevailing wage when they had their home built?
The folks that well, they wouldn't have used a prevailing wage because it'd be a private contract.
Exactly.
The people that I know would have been using high skill wages that are reflected of the area standard. I can assure you that.
But not necessarily even union, though. They could have not been union work. Or even how about having your house painted? Have you ever had your house painted where you lived by someone?
Actually, yes, and it was a member of the district council.
I guess it would be if you
Yeah.
counsel for AFL-CIO.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't a real good question. I think you know where I'm going here.
I understand where you're going, and I agree with you. I'm probably not the person to answer those types of questions. However, I'll let you know that in my area and as well as the people that I'm related to that live out in St. Charles,
Yeah.
O'Fallon,
Or rural Missouri.
Lincoln County, which is less and less rural than it used to be. I know that the folks that I associate with, which are voters in those areas, believe in keeping the wages high, and when their tax money or through tax credit, when public money is being expended or not collected as a result, they take very seriously that they want the men and women doing that work to be earning a wage, and that there's any kind of high wage that is reflected of the area in which they live, and that they want as much as possible to make sure that it's local people working on that. It's not always prevailing wages, by no means a guarantee that it's going to be local people, but constitutionally it's the best protection that we have to make sure that local people have the same shot.
I think you said exactly what I wanted to say. Local people, the people in your community or my community. We want to be able to hire those people and use those people to build our homes, to paint our homes. Where I'm from, we don't use union people to build our homes. We don't. I'm a home builder, and nobody does in my community. No one. And I'm not making that up. And I think that would be reflective of many communities across our state, especially in rural Missouri or even in southwest Missouri. So I think that's what this bill is trying to address. Specifically, the Joplin situation. Majority of the homes built in Joplin don't use union wages and don't pay prevailing wage. They pay whatever the local painter, the local builder. Around where I'm at, we use a lot of Amish labor, and they're very good craftsmen, by the way.
I would imagine they would be.
Now, I wouldn't put them building a bridge in St. Louis, or I wouldn't put them on a highly trained technical job that many union skilled laborers can do that we appreciate. But this is why I think this is what this bill is trying to do, is directly reflect the community that it's in.
And if I may respond, I am happy to get into that discussion on some of the other bills, because I can explain how it's reflected and how the prevailing wage. But for this specific bill, which respectfully the sponsor has limited to Missouri housing and to disaster areas, I think it's best left to the body that decision is best left to the body in which the legislature has entrusted that decision. And that is with the Housing Authority at this point.
Well, I think Representative Kelly had a very valid point, though. This is the body, we're the body that actually developed and implemented the tax credit. So I do think it is appropriate. Thank you for the inquiry.
And to be clear, I'm not saying it's inappropriate. I think it's better left there, not that it's inappropriate for the legislature to act in the way the legislature
Thank you,
feels.
gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Good. I now hear for someone speaking in support of the bill. All right. How about Denise Hasty in opposition?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Denise Hasty, and I'm the Vice President of Advocacy and a registered lobbyist for the new Associated General Contractors of Missouri. The new AGC of Missouri was formed in mid-December upon the merger of the former AGC of Missouri and the AGC of St. Louis. Our new organization has 550 corporate members who are commercial, industrial, heavy, and highway contractors, industry partners, and related firms. Membership in the new AGC spans 110 counties in the state, and we have offices in both St. Louis and Jefferson City. The AGC is opposed to the changes to prevailing wage statutes as outlined in House Bill 285. In 2013, the legislature passed a significant prevailing wage reform bill that became law. And that language and calculation methods outlined in this new law were fully vetted through numerous stakeholders and many hours of painstaking work. And the intent of those reforms were to significantly lessen the impact of union wages in predominantly open shop areas of the state by instituting a new calculation method in 93 of Missouri's counties. The AGC believes that it's too soon to fully be able to ascertain and measure the impact of those 2013 changes, and that making changes again is just too soon at this time. We also believe that while we are sympathetic to the needs of people in the disaster areas to rebuild quickly and efficiently and cost effectively, this is also a time of high unemployment in the construction industry, and prohibiting prevailing wage in this manner will only increase incidences of out-of-state workers taking jobs from Missourians. And to reduce the wages in those areas would also potentially do a double hit to the pocketbooks of the people who live in that area by reducing their wages. So generally speaking, we just believe that it's probably too soon to really be able to have a good measure of how effective the changes from 2013 were on the prevailing wage law.
Thank you. Representative Kelly, you had a question?
To inquire,
Go ahead.
based on your testimony, the changes that we passed, you believe will make prevailing wage more reflective to the actual wages that are being paid for a trade in a certain area of the state, is that correct?
I believe that was the intent of what was done in 2013.
Well, I would agree with you. I was here and fully supported that measure, and I would assume that if that's the wages that are being paid in those areas and it's going to be more accurately reflected already, that this will just solidify what's already going to be happening, and that is the wages in those areas are going to be the wages that are being paid to those average contractors, the people in that area. So I appreciate you confirming that this is a great idea to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Mr. Tim Green, would you like to testify, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Tim Green, and I'm here to speak in opposition of the bill for the National Electrical Contractors Association. It's an organization of over 220 electrical contractors on the eastern side of Missouri. I think the issue has been discussed, not a deference to the chairman. If there's no questions, I'd just like to, once again, urge the opposition to this bill.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. Mr. Raymond Hefner.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, members of the committee. My name is Raymond Hefner. I'm here representing the Plumbing Industry Council, Missouri Association of Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors, and SMAC to St. Louis. I think the issue has been discussed. What I would like to do is leave an executive summary of a 178-page report that was done by the University of Missouri Kansas City on the benefits of prevailing wage. I won't go into it, but I will leave it with my testimony so the members of the committee have it available for their referral. I would entertain any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Adam McBride.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, my name is Adam McBride. I'm here today representing roughly 14,000 construction craft laborers in the state of Missouri. I'll keep it short for this one. I would just like to go on record in opposition to the bill.
Thank you, sir. Are there others here who wish to testify against the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Nancy Giddens. Have not much more to add other than on behalf of the Construction Employers Coalition and the Carpenters District Council, we would like to go on record in opposition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honorable Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Bruce Holt. I'm a registered lobbyist with the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, covering St. Louis and Kansas City, and we just want to go on record in opposition to the bills we have in the past. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Are there others in opposition? Is there anyone here who wishes to testify for information purposes? None appearing. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 285. We will now hear House Bill 195, Representative Love. Go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. For the record, I'm Warren Love, District 125 representative, and I am here. My purpose is for two things. And before we get into the debate, it is number one, to spend taxpayer money wiser. And number two is to create opportunity for work throughout Missouri, not just in a circle of 60 miles around St. Louis and about 30 miles around Kansas City. And I'm going to be right up front with you, let you know, yes, I am here to chip away at wages, but to provide a reasonable rate of wages and a reasonable, fair wage at competitive bids. So I filed House Bill 195. It has to do with prevailing wage. You'll see in the summary it revises the definition of construction as it relates to prevailing wages on public work projects. We're going to be talking about public work projects, not private work projects. In the areas that I live, I know of never, ever in my lifetime in St. Clair County, Hickory County, Cedar County, or Benton County has a house or a private building been built by union labor. We don't do that in the rural areas. Zilch, never been done. Now, it would also, in 3, revise the definition of maintenance work, and in number 4, it specifies that the hourly rate of wages for all counties except, we're going to leave 9 counties in the city of St. Louis alone. Okay, it's not going to affect you all. So hopefully this is a compromise right out of the gate. And what we'll use, and you have a chart, and I filed this last year also, we'll use the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics by metropolitan and non-metropolitan. And we need to repeat that, metropolitan and non-metropolitan area occupational employment wage estimates. And you'll have that sheet that you should have been passed out. And number 5, it says that after it specifies the counties and the city of St. Louis that's carved out, it says the prevailing hourly wage rate of wages will continue to be determined by consideration of the applicable wage rates established by collective bargaining agreements. So here I am. I would like to answer any questions. But before I do, I want you to know some statistics, and I handed this sheet out too. State and local prevailing wage laws. Today, 31 states in the District of Columbia enforce prevailing wage laws. Now, this is government enforcement. This is government involvement, okay? To me, it goes against the ideal of a free market and free labor and the right and freedom of work. Okay, most of these prevailing wage laws were enacted during the New Deal. I'm talking about Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal in the 1930s. Here's the real, where the rubber meets the road. You all heard the term Davis-Bacon Act. Well, I sent you a sheet out so you know that. Many of us don't know what the Davis-Bacon Act was or why it come about. About 3 paragraphs down, it says this act was passed with a specific intent of preventing non-unionized black and immigrant laborers, in other words, the workers out of the South, from competing with unionized white workers for scarce jobs in the North during the Depression. That's how come we have this. That's the beginning of it. The states that do not have prevailing wage, and yes, there are some of them, 9 states have never had a law. They're listed. And then also in 9 others, they have been repealed. The idea is to lower the labor costs so we can get more concrete for our money, and also more water lines, more sewer lines, and it will be done by trained and skilled workers. I hear this over and over again about this debate, that in rural areas that we don't have trained and skilled workers. I want to testify this for myself. I went to college for 3 months. I didn't do English very good, and I just basically packed up my bags and left. I decided that wasn't for me. So I went to a carpenter school. And I hired on with a professional carpenter and worked 4+ years. And went on my own, and I run a construction crew for several years. All the young boys that I hired was hard-working farm boys. They wasn't afraid to work, and every one of them had been through building trades in high schools. Yes, we do have training programs in rural areas with our technical college or our technical schools and building trades. The idea that we don't have trained, skilled workers, I don't believe is right. In fact, in places in our areas, we have rock layers and stone masons. They lay rock and stone, their daddy did, their granddaddy did. They've got reputations, and I know in some cases where people will wait 6 months to a year just to get someone with that skill and that reputation to build their fireplaces and do their brickwork. We also, the idea of having shoddy work, first of all, these public work projects have a architect, engineer, design plan. Okay, it is up to the boards that is elected by the citizens of the towns, the schools, and the councils to see that they hire reputable people. They have blueprints, they have specifications, they have building inspectors, and they have local codes. So it's not like it's run for rampant, anything goes out here in the rural area. Now, I will say this, a lot of our areas do not have zoning. And if you want to go out and buy 40 acres of timber, set up a deer camp, and build you a shack, listen, you can do that. Thank God we can still do that in Missouri and America. But when you're building, most of the time inside the city limits of a reasonable community, you're going to see that we're going to have building codes. We currently, right now, are building a Dollar General store in the little town of Lowery City on 13 Highway, 400 people in population. Dollar General has a crew that comes around and builds them buildings. I was in the Landmark Cafe yesterday eating chicken dinner after church. Very popular place, by the way, if you're ever down in Lowery City. I seen a table of 4 workers sitting, all bundled up in heavy coats. I had eye contact with them. I knew immediately. I could tell when I looked at a working man in the eye because I'm one of them. I went to the restroom, stopped and pulled up a chair and talked to them for about 15 minutes. 20-degree day, 20-mile-an-hour wind, and when I left, they were already back up on top of that building putting down roofing. This was on Sunday. They were working. They had bid that job. I'll guarantee you, they wasn't getting double pay. They wasn't getting time and a half. They were working because they were working men. All I'm asking you to do is to consider the freedom to work and let people work. Dollar General builds these little stores all over the country. These same workers told me they build all of O'Reilly Automotive buildings and they build all of FedEx buildings. They are working men and they knew what they were doing. With that, I'll take any questions.
Eddie Weber.
Quite shocking, I'm sure, Mr. Chairman. I'm thoroughly confused now. How does Dollar General fit into this situation?
They don't. I'm just giving you an idea, an example of a working project where people work. These same people could be building our sidewalks, our sewer lines, and our water lines, our school buildings, our fire department buildings.
Right.
Ambulance buildings, whatever we're building. When we're spending taxpayer money, all I'm asking is, as a legislature body, let's make it to where we spend our taxpayer money wisely, okay? Now, are we gonna lower the wages for some people? And if you're comparing your wages to St. Louis or Kansas City, you bet we're gonna.
But we're not. We're not.
Oh, yes, we are gonna lower them. You bet we're gonna lower them. We're gonna put-
You're setting up a false argument. I agree that you're lower. I'm saying we're not comparing them to St. Louis and Kansas City. Nobody here is comparing them to St. Louis and Kansas City. We are using local wage rates for
No,
some.
you're not. No, I'm telling you, I don't know where those figures come from. I've got them right here. I'll give you a piece of paper. They are not local wage rates. I can load up a 10-passenger van of workers for $15 an hour in any county in my district, okay? If we put a base floor at $24 an hour, that is a real pay raise. And that is a reasonable, fair wage in rural Missouri. And I'm talking about
When the Republican majority passed the 2013 prevailing wage law, they said that part of it, that they said that it would move rates to match the local wage rate.
I told you here last year, that don't amount to a pinch of squat. It hasn't amounted to one yet, and it's not going.
That's fine, I'm just saying, your party passed that and they said this is about saying the prevailing wage reflects local wage rates. And now you're telling me that it doesn't reflect local wage rates. So I'm thoroughly confused if you think that your party passed that bill and that bill didn't do anything. Is that what you're saying right now?
I'm saying that, yes, sir.
Okay. So you and I we have found common ground and agreement. It's
Listen, if
amazing.
it did, I wouldn't have filed this bill.
You voted for it though, didn't you?
I don't know if I did or not. That thing got some watered down on the Senate side, I don't know what happened. I still don't, I can read it right now, don't know what it means.
I'll have to look. I'm willing to bet that you did though. My other question is, you gave a very passionate and complimentary talk about these guys working in 20-degree weather on a roof, the wind, and I absolutely am with you. And then you said you want to chip away at their wages.
I'm not chipping away them boys' wages. Them boys are doing a job by the job. And they're making, you know what? They're probably making $60, $70 an hour if they're working yesterday. But they were hustling. We do not and should not place a rate whenever somebody will competitive bid a job. I've been there and done that. When I can build a house with 3 men beside me and an old pickup truck and build a house in 5 days and hang all the doors and windows and put the roof on it, and some union guys across the street, Blue Springs, Missouri, takes 2 weeks to build one, buddy, we were not working by the hour, we were working by the foot, and we made more money than they did.
I'm having a hard time here asking you questions because it's just not making sense. You said that nobody in your district uses union labor.
None. Not for building private homes or barns. Now, yes, they do. I don't call them union, but whenever they do the sewer projects and the water lines and all this,
These same local guys that you're talking about, and I agree, I empathize with you. I know that, but these rural areas need money. People need to earn a fair wage. They need income.
right now, you know
And
what they're doing?
the same guys that you were just talking about, those are the guys whose wages are going to be chipped away at in your
No, they're
words.
not. They don't even have work right now. They're living off deer meat and fishing and cutting wood. I want you to get this right here and look what I'm talking about. This page right here has got an ambulance building in El Dorado Springs. It got hit by a hailstorm in September. Okay? Now, they had to rebid the roof. And if you look down middle ways on the first page, they got bids. The insurance company said they had to get bids, okay? Guaranteed Roofing out of Joplin, Missouri bid $26,468 in a fairly simple bid with few details. Another contractor, Absolute Contractors, submitted the most complete and the highest price. They followed the insurance company's document on needed repairs in minute detail, giving the price on all aspects of the damage. 2 men from the company were present to answer questions and assured the board that their bid followed the Missouri law on prevailing wage to the letter. The men said that their prevailing wage inflates the cost 400%. The total bid was $63,205. Another firm out in Nevada, Missouri, Gilded LLC, bid $32,009. There was language, anyhow, the board ended up taking with the insurance company had estimated the project at $22,000. They ended up taking, due to the prevailing wage law, the $63,205. I'm just saying.
They have a terrible lawyer. The lawyer is terrible. If they took $22,000 on their insurance policy of a project that cost $60,000, which first off makes no sense. And you're a man with common sense. You can look at those numbers and just say, that doesn't make any sense. So use your common sense, and you know that doesn't make any sense. And then the lawyer is awful, if that is your example. You said yourself you don't understand the prevailing wage law we passed in 2013. So why would you come back to this General Assembly and say, I'm going to try to change the law that I admit I don't understand? That's just bad. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Let's talk about the 2013 law. Okay, it strikes me that if you don't have prevailing wage in one county, you go to the next county, and if you don't have it there, you go to the next county. Listen, we don't have any counties reporting the prevailing wages. We got mostly Amish workers and local contractors and stuff. They're not working by the hour. They're independent contractors. They either work by the job, so we don't have a prevailing wage, okay? So we get waxed over by some other prevailing wage far away, okay? Now, let's look at a sidewalk project.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time. This just isn't going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Smith. Go ahead.
How you doing, Representative Little?
Very good.
All right.
Been looking forward to this all week. Got snowed out last
You
week.
seem pumped up.
Yeah.
You did push I'm just trying to understand it all. Because I look at everything from the guy on the roof, like you were talking about. I'm the guy. I don't work on the roof anymore. I'm in the building, but I'm the worker bee.
I've been in the
legislature.
Still am.
I was at work Friday, and I was supposed to go today, but I'm not going to make it. I look at, I don't understand how, or well, I will never agree that it's okay for a contractor or a company to make whatever profit they want to make, but it comes at the expense of the person that's actually doing the job. So what I'm saying is, you've got houses or, you got a lot going on in this bill. You're defining maintenance work different, which can actually mean construction. It's a whole lot, but I'm just gonna get to the part of, how do you help a community by paying a worker a unfair wage, the way I see it, or a lower wage than what the market is dictating? How does that help the community? How does that help Bob that lives 2 streets over, when, just say something like this is implemented and then something that happened in New Orleans happens? The population of, there were 50, and I got nothing against anybody, but my father was working down there in construction management after Katrina, and when they did, the federal government did their thing with prevailing wage, it changed the game in New Orleans. It bottomed out rates all across the board when it came to construction. So the person 2 streets over didn't have a chance, because you had people coming in from all other states, some undocumented workers coming in, and they would work for just food for the day for the most part, and sleep in sleeping bags, but they had an opportunity. And I see this as kind of a gateway once you knock that prevailing wage out. So my question is, how does it help the community in that sense of that person right down the street just trying to make an honest wage?
I can answer that. Have you got this sheet?
I've got a few sheets.
Okay, this here is a scale of the 4 counties in my district, their prevailing wages for 10 different building trades. And over on the right, you'll see the Federal Bureau of Statistics. And Representative, I'm not trying to jerk the rug out completely under labor. Okay, I'm not here doing it completely. No, I'm sure not. Listen, when you see that Federal Bureau of Statistics on the right-hand column, and you look down through that, that is close to $10 per hour above any skilled carpenter, mason, plumber in my area that is currently making. That is a pay raise. Now, here's what that would do. Let's say you're going to build For instance, my community is trying to build a senior center for seniors to come together and have dinners on Monday through Friday and Meals for Wheels. They got a grant, about $600,000. They designed a building, drew it up to the plans, had an engineer do it and everything, put it out for bids. Guess what? The bids came in, all three of them, over $1 million. 1.1, 1.2. They didn't have the money. So their only option was to go back, reduce the square footage of the building, change it from a metal frame building to a wood frame building. They finally got the bids the other day, the second time around, and they got a bid for around $600,000. Now this is still paying prevailing wage. Now I want to tell you something. If our local carpenters in our hometown that grew up there, have been there all of their life, and are going to be there the rest of their life, if they could build that building, they can build that building for $450,000.
No, but wasn't this local people who be working on the project?
No, this is the process. We have people, listen, our local people, if they want to work and make union wages, you know where they go? They either move to Kansas City or they go to St. Louis. Most of them, we even have people drive 100 miles a day back and forth to Kansas City to work union rates. That's fine if they want to do it. I never chose to do that. I worked 88 days one time for General Motors, and I says, take it and cram it. I went back home and hauled hay for 2 cents a bacon. And I worked on my own, and I learned to do everything by the rate, by the foot, okay? Now, we do have good craftsmen, as I mentioned earlier, but we do not have union workers there. So as a result, whenever these jobs come in and they bid them, Westport Construction out of Clinton is going to get that. They build all the senior centers, they do all of these little fancy prevailing wage jobs. They specialize in it. They're selfish. They want to keep all that for themselves because nobody else in that area in southwest Missouri has a chance to do those jobs.
Now, is it because, now, so that company you just mentioned, are they a union company or non-union?
No, they're non-union, but they pay prevailing wage. They sort of specify. They cater to those little types of jobs.
So another contractor has an opportunity. It just seems like, and I'm sure the other worker is saying, I really wish I worked for that company that's getting that job because then I can make what I'm supposed to make.
Okay, let's go back to our point. A senior center building, they got a grant, okay? Where did the money come from for that grant?
I don't know the type
Well,
of grant it was.
it's taxpayer money somewhere in the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to pay prevailing wage. That's the concern is. Everybody that spends taxpayer money, whether you're putting a roof on an ambulance building, whether you're building a senior center building, whether you're building a school, a bus barn, or even re-roofing a baseball stadium in a public park, if you've got taxpayer money, if it's over $2,000, according to Davis Bacon, maybe we need to go back into the 1930s and readjust that figure for inflation and bring it up to up-to-date times. But anyhow, the fact is, we waste taxpayer money in these rural areas paying too high a labor. We can still pay less labor and have a good paying, fair paying job. That's all I'm asking.
I don't think any of my,
I'm not asking you or your workers in St. Louis to come to rural Missouri.
they're not. Because these are.
Because you're gonna have to learn how to kill deer and catch catfish and live off the land and sell a few cows and do a little work along the way to make it. But we got people that like to live like that, okay?
Which is
Let
fine,
us
and I'm
live
sure
in
they
our
like
area and
raise.
we'll let you live in your area. I carved the counties out. I'm gonna leave yours alone. I'm not messing with your
Which
wages.
is fine. I just would like to see, and maybe in this room, there's some people from your county that are gonna testify and say, hey,
Well,
this
we
is
may
too
have
much
some,
money
I don't know.
for me to make. A fair rate is too much for me to make. And until I see or hear a whole bunch of kind of workers saying that, no, I'm not gonna accept this is too much for what I do for a living. I can't, I see it from the eyes of, here, I can make more profit, because there's no limit on profit that a contractor or anybody can make off any of these projects. But we want to, in a sense, limit how much the work.
Then contractors are bidding competitive bid. Right now, let's take a
And
contract.
this is a competitive wage.
Let's bid on that senior center, okay? We draw the specs in. No contractor has got any given on buying material. Basically, iron is iron, concrete is concrete, okay? So you're locked into bidding the material, okay? So where's your example to be able, where's your option to be able to be competitive? When you look at labor, right here, the state of Missouri says you gotta pay $35 an hour for this and for this and this. So the only way you can competitively bid is to do a little bit faster than the other guy, okay? I'm just saying, let the contractors bid the jobs. They may bid, they don't have to bid this least amount. They can bid more if they want to, but listen, if they get smart and want the job, they'll bid less. They will be able to give the taxpayers more concrete, more water lines, more building square footage for their money than they're currently getting. That's what this is about.
Okay, and I do hear you, I do not agree. I think this bill, along with others that we've heard, will open the door on the board of this state. And we will see a population change in this state, and you will have the guy that's making the $15 an hour at home saying, Representative Love, what's going on?
You are exactly right. You're going to see a change in this state. You'll see people start moving in here like they have going to Texas.
Well, what about the person 3 doors down? That's what I'm saying. Because just like you mentioned Family Dollar, and I'll wrap this up in a second.
If you don't like living in the rural area, you can move to Kansas City or St. Louis. But a lot of us like living in the rural area. We know how to get by
As a
with
traveling crew, and most of them do not live in Missouri with that crew that they have. And most of them aren't making a whole lot of money with the crew that they have, and that's the danger that it could be Pandora's box and we open it up, and then there's something in there that we don't like.
That's like Davis Bacon done it.
No, we need that. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Eddie Burns.
Bruce Inquire. You and I met on a freshman tour.
That's right, yes, sir.
We became friends.
That's right.
So we're friends to this day.
You bet.
Even though we agree to disagree.
Oh, listen, we'll arm wrestle and still be friends.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm still waiting for that ham and bean and cornbread that your wife's gonna make and come down and enjoy it at your house, okay? But some things you touched on, and I can't quite grasp. You're saying $15 an hour, but yet they're making $60,000 a year. You jump from $15 an hour, that's about $30,000 a year. And also, you mentioned the other day when you and I talked, that it's private contractor, $15 an hour. That doesn't include any benefits, taxes coming out, hospitalization, or anything like that. It's just a flat $15 an hour that you may pay someone to work for your company. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you get from, you just said some of those guys are making $60,000 a year. If they're making $15 an hour as a contractor, independent contractor, and how does that jump to $60 an hour? And I think some of the things that are reflected on these sheets also include benefits. In other words, hospitalization, retirement, vacation, that a contractor may be paying those folks. That it all encompasses that 30 or 50, and up in St. Louis, I know it's about $50 or $60 an hour, but that's the whole pay package, not their take-home pay, but the whole pay package. So back to that question, how do you get from $15 an hour to making $60,000 a year?
Okay, I don't remember, I can't connect the dots between $15 and $60,000 a year, okay?
600 a week times
Oh, that
52
don't-
weeks, yeah, that's
Yeah, that don't
30,000.
work, but anyhow, you know, first of all, most of us work more hours, okay? But that's up to the individual, okay? You know, I guess what you need to look at is the rate of the cost of living in rural areas is probably half as much as it is in the urban areas. That's just a fact.